Being here today is where my great-grandfather is responsible to actually making the making Hale School here. He lived a life of contribution. And I talked to my dad, and he tells me how much of an amazing man he was. He funded the church 250 kilometres away from here. And he helped make this school what it is today. There's actually a building named after him. And today, I had a prepared speech, and I've realised I've been so inspired by everyone else's talks about TED and just having a conversation. And today, I want to share a story, my story, as a young Aussie bloke, going down a life and aspiring to be someone like my great-granddad, who lived a life of contribution. Because I hear that living a life of contribution, it is really awesome and it feels really good. But I tell you what, it has some tough teachings. But I believe the way how you can do it is through entrepreneurship and connecting to country. Because my goal today is to inspire you all to live a life not just on the peripheries of contribution, though immersed in a life of contribution through entrepreneurship and connecting to country. So a story I want to share with you is that 8 years ago I was given the opportunity to travel 2,500 kilometres north to a place known by the Aboriginal people, the Bardi people, is Adiulon. Us Gadiar, we call it One Arm Point. One Arm Point I went to, and I sat down and I listened to stories that have been passed down from generation to generation for thousands of years. I connected with that place. And the way how I felt and those experiences I had, I felt I can connect with that place for the rest of my life. They were so open, they shared so much, they gave so much to me as a young 16-year-old, just like you guys. And I felt that when I came back to my community, back to Perth, that I wanted to give something back to these amazing people. And what I saw is that coming through some of the schools that they had up there, they did not have the same opportunities of what we have. These kids, if they wanted to get a book and take it home, they couldn't. They didn't have a library. And for me, in one of the most developed countries in the world, I couldn't believe this. So I came back to school, just like you guys, and I had conversations with my mates, and I told them what it was like. And they said, far out, let's start up a library. So that's what we did. We identified the gap. They didn't have a library. We came up with a solution. All right, let's collect books and do fundraisers to start up this library. We made a plan and we took action. So we knocked on people's doors for that year. And we did a bunch of different entrepreneurial ideas, such as sausage sizzles and little fetes at our school and community groups. And we managed to collect 2.5 tonnes of books and fundraise $6,500. And that's all we needed to set up this library and to give these kids opportunities to have books at home. I tell you what, the final step of this basic entrepreneurial process of identifying a gap, coming up with a solution, taking action, and it comes up, the final step, it's all about evolving the process. So the end of year 12, 17, I went back up to that community and I had conversations. I said, how is it? And everyone was just so happy. I tell you what, I went to these guys and their faces, their smiles were so stoked. I tell you what, I wouldn't be that stoked if I had got given a book. But what happened from that point onwards is actually an elder saw me in the community. He came up to me, he said, Lockie, what you're doing is so awesome. But we get a lot of you Gadiar, you white fella coming to our community. We've seen it for many years. And the thing is, that what happens, you point, you take notes down. But then you just shit all over everything and then you piss off. And we call them mob, we call them seagulls. And for me, as a 17-year-old, I was pretty intimidated, and I still get goosebumps every time I share that story because it was intimidating. And I made a commitment that, no, I'm not just going in here as a one-off. I'm going to step up and make a commitment to truly being in the community's best interest and connect to the community. And that's what we've done. And in this community now, it boasts the highest attendance rates in the whole Kimberley region. And it has the highest amount of kids ever striving for higher education. I'm not coming and saying that we're the only reason for this to happen. There's many different initiatives for this to happen. But actually, I know comfortably we are strongly contributing to these higher success results. This simple process of identifying a gap, coming up with a solution, making a plan, taking action and evolving, it's a basic essence of entrepreneur. From here, I then, 4 years down the track, I had an experience. I sat down by the beach and a senior elder came up to me and she said to me, "Lockie, the community, we see what you do. We see you looking after the young people and us community for many years, and it reminds us of an old man who passed away a long time ago now. And what we want to do is actually, when you come into our community, we want to pass his name on to you, and from now on we're going to call you Binjali." And from that point I really became aware that I belonged in that community and that I was really connected. I believe entrepreneurship is a lot like life. It's about continually growing. We all go through a hell of a lot of challenges. Right now, you're all at school. You've got challenges such as homework, you've got study, you've got exams, you're worrying about girls, you're worrying about boys. You've got all these different stresses in our life. And if you're out of school, you've got so many stresses as well. You've got that, but on top of that, you've got rent, you've got your mortgage, you've got your expenses, car, your work, getting the promotion. These are all challenges, but I believe these challenges, just like we've heard from many TED Talks, you've got to push through these challenges. And every now and then, we need a little bit of inspiration and motivation. And for me to get through some of these tough times, I think of one of my favourite movies, Rocky. When Rocky Balboa, he gets up and he says, "Let me tell you something you may already know. Life, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean, cruel and nasty place, and it will beat you down to your knees if you let it. You, me or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. Because that's how winning is done." I love this quote because it gets you through some of these tough times that we all face. But I think life is more about having a little bit of motivation. Motivation, I believe, is like having a warm shower. It feels good when you're in the shower, but when you step out, reality slaps you in the face. Zig Zulu says, motivation is like hygiene. You've got to keep it up. For me, I believe you need a bigger purpose, because inspiration and motivation is only lasts for a short while. You need to live a life of purpose. You need to have a why. And I believe you get these times when you get seriously challenged. When you get challenged so hard that your world gets turned upside down and you go through some serious adversity. I believe everyone goes through these times. And there's some amazing teachings and learnings you can have from this. I recently had my own challenge, serious challenge. I trained for 4 years continually for 4 to 6 hours every day, striving to achieve my Olympic dream, to represent my country. It was a childhood dream. I gave it absolutely everything. I made it to the selection regatta. I missed out. We were in tough company though. The guys who won ended up going to London and they got the gold medal for the K4 1,000 metres sprint kayaking. I then went back home, back here to Perth, and I trained for an 150 kilometre race over 2 days, and I pushed myself to its absolute limits. I pushed my body so hard that I actually physically changed the structure of my chest, where my first rib is risen and it's cut off the circulation to my right arm. What that meant for me is that it took away that love that I had It was my ananas. It was my joy. I went from doing something I love for 4 to 6 hours a day to 0. I'm not saying that this challenge is any more significant than anyone else's or less, but for me, it was rattling. We all have these challenges. And I tell you what, we can all learn from them. But you have a time when you're down and out and you're really stressed. But you need people around you who are strong. When I was out in the hills one day with a Noongar elder from here, he saw that I was stressed. Something wasn't working out. I was going through these daily challenges that we all face. And it was getting the better of me. Then Lockie, he saw me. He said, "Lockie, pull over the car." So I pulled over the car. He said, "Lockie, we've got a word for you in our language. We call you a Dorito." I said, "What, a Dorito?" He said, "Yeah, Dorito. You know when you get your bag of Doritos, you put your hand in the Doritos, you pull them out, and what do? They crumble under the pressure." I felt pretty stupid at this time. He said, "Lockie, my mum, she's from the Kimberley. And in the Kimberley, we have the biggest and most beautiful diamonds in the whole world." Lockie, he said, "Do you know how diamonds are formed?" And I said, stupidly, I said, "No." He said, "Lockie, diamonds are formed after thousands and thousands of years of continual stress and pressure." And he said, "Lockie, we need more diamonds in our world. We need you to be a diamond. We need you to be strong because the challenges we have facing ahead of us, we need more strong people, just like everyone here." Noel said to me, "Lockie, the way you become a diamond is when you connect to country." And I made a commitment that I was going to go forward and connect with other people who I saw like this amazing elder. I see him as a diamond. He's a mentor. And I'm so fortunate to have so many amazing mentors around me in my life. I call these people diamonds. And I tell you what, when you hang out with diamonds, more mentors, that strength, it rubs off onto you. And you become strong. And that's what I did. But I tell you what, every single one of those diamonds, they say to me, "Lockie, to become strong, you need to connect to country." When you connect to country, you connect to your community. And when you connect to your community, you become aware that you actually belong at that place. And when you belong at a place, you realize that that place is a part of you. And then contributing to that place becomes second nature. Einstein says the thought processes of those things that cause a problem, they can't solve the problem. That means that every single one of you need to be the change. It needs to come from the community, from the grassroots, up. Because the top-down approach, the way difference between the rich and the poor is happened from the top down. And the way you do this is through connecting to country and realizing and contributing to your community with a greater purpose. And the way you connect to country, it's finding that place where you're not caught up in your head. When you're quiet, you're finding the place where you're happy. You get out of your head. When you're in that place and you breathe, you connect to your heart. When you're at your heart, you connect to country, to your community, and you realize that you're a part of it. And every action you make in your community has an equal reaction. Gandhi says, "Be the change you want in this world." And I say, be the diamond. Be strong. Hell, be the entrepreneur. Identify the gap. Come up with a solution with your diamonds. Make a plan, take action, and evolve. Be the social entrepreneur, creating abundance for not only yourself and the people in the organization, but abundance in the community in which the business or enterprise resides in. I'll leave you with one quote. Margaret Mead said it. Never doubt a small group of committed people to change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Right here, this is a didgeridoo. It's one of the most ancient musical instruments on our planet. The sounds that come out of this didgeridoo enhance your ability to connect to country. So when I play this, I want you to shut your eyes and I want you to listen to your breath and relax and get out of your head. And ask yourself, where do you belong? And what can you do to contribute? European nyonok jinening nyala kadijin. Nunga wajak mod buria king karak nija buja. Connect to country. Be the entrepreneur. And contribute. I believe that's an idea worth spreading.